Hello, everyone. Welcome in. It's Championship Sunday here at the Smite Masters LAN. I'll be your host on the desk all day, Aggro, joined by the best taco. There's lots of tacos, but there's only one that's the best, and she's sitting right here.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, it's your name. I'm not the one who decided. That was just the universe who let us know. And you should know that you're in for a great treat here today for the Smite Masters LAN. We've got the best of 7 coming up. You heard that right, a best of 7. We'll go into how that's going to work with the double elimination and how Dignitas will get their advantage for coming from the winner's side a little bit later on, but we're going to start with the minor league today. We got a best of 3. The top team from North America, Anxiety Onset, is going to be meeting up against Europe's, Insignem. They were the best team during the minor league here in the spring split. Before we get into that, you should know what you can do while you're at home watching. Put us up on the second monitor and start grinding those worshipers 3 times everything. Not only worshipers, but experience, fantasy points, and favor. Taco, who is the god that is closest to rank 10 for you? Because this is your opportunity.
Oh, I actually just secured my Ninja rank 10 mastery last night.
Nice. Naja's like, I'm at like 900 worshipers with Naja, so I'm like almost there. Maybe I'll grind him up to rank 10 later on today after we see some great Smite action. We've also got to keep in mind here that if you're planning on coming to HRX, which, let's be real, you should be, it's going to be an amazing event this year. We're partnering up with DreamHack. It's a little bit earlier than in previous years. No more cold Januaries here in Atlanta. It's going to be nice and cool in November, specifically 16th through the 18th. Don't you dare jinx
all of us.
It's going to be, come on, Taco. There's no way it's cold.
Caster's Curse is applicable to more than just our actual broadcast.
The whole weather is subject to the Caster's Curse. Wow. God bless if that happens. If it's terrible weather, you can blame me now, I suppose. But I think it'll be A-OK. Speaking of A-OK, Insignem has looked better than that so far during the spring split. I mean, they have tons of talent on that roster. I don't think anyone's surprised that they were a top team. But really, between DeathPanter and LASBRA, those two in particular were just dominant so far this split.
It does seem as though a lot of what Insignem's success has been built off of has come from that mid-jungle synergy point of view. And it's hard not to, because these are probably 2 of the players with the most experience on their team. You've got LASBRA, who has been the Dignitas sub for a couple of years now, and then DeathPanter, he's got that former SPL experience as is. And so it's also just incredible seeing how the 2 managed to still combine. And considering that they were both with different teams, they're also bringing that knowledge forward too.
Well, we got a chance to talk to some of the members from Insignem, and we'll let you take a listen.
Hey, what's up, guys? DeathPanter and Zearoe right in front of us representing Insignem. Congratulations on getting here. You are the first minor league team. This is the first time we've had you guys in the studio. What's that like being the first minor league team here?
Yeah, it's actually really good. Like, we really like the new league format. It's awesome, so we're really happy to be here.
DeathPanter, you had a really good split last year with Elevate, went to the World Championships, and then had to kind of drop down into the minor league. Was that a difficult transition for you, and what has this journey been like in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, of course it's rough, you know. Like, my split with Elevate yesterday was like my first breakthrough to the higher SPL. And we did like really well, made it to World, so I was really happy. So, of course, it's then like a really big disappointment that the team feels like they're going to do better off without you. But I know, like, at the end of the day, all you can do is wish them good luck and try and find your own path again. And I'm really happy I ended up on Insignem. We've been doing really well, so it's okay. It's all right.
All right, off of that, is this your chance to kind of prove them wrong? Because Insignem looked great during the regular season, and here you are back at LAN. I mean, I expect pretty much the same. Are you kind of looking at the major league players like, hey, you guys made a mistake?
I mean, of course, it's really nice to like prove yourself and see that you can still do this, especially when people doubt you. But I mean, I don't know. Like, they're doing really well for themselves. They're not doing great in SPL, but they're playing well. So I don't know. It's okay.
You guys are going to be going up against the NA representatives from the minor league, Anxiety Onset. Zearoe, we'll start with you. What have you seen from their solo laner, Mandowarrior, and how do you plan to attack him?
Yikes! I mean, he's. I've seen a lot of aggro stuff. Like, their comps are pretty wacky. They've had a lot more freedom in drafting, I think, than we have, which I'm kind of jealous of. But hopefully at LAN he'll be pulling out some more traditional stuff, so I don't get too scared. But yeah, no, I'm excited to play against him because obviously it's always an interesting matchup to go against the #1 NA SML solo laner.
We've been here all week watching the SPL teams go head-to-head, and the question is it a different meta? Should we expect to see something different today in your finals than what we've seen the Pro League players bring throughout the week?
Yes.
Yeah, like SPL players are like better teams now, so they can pull out the more difficult compositions and stuff. So for us, it should be a bit more down to earth. I feel always in SML, but I don't know, like NAEU meta differs a lot. Like you see the NA players play a lot of Hunters mid and stuff, and the EU as SPL teams don't do that. So I don't know if NA SML play Hunters mid. I have no clue, so we'll see.
DeathPanter, everyone, when they're talking about Anxiety Onset, talks about Paul and how the dude's a beast and how he's doing everything for them. How excited are you to go up against him, and how do you think that matchup's going to go?
I mean, they're undefeated in NASML, so I don't know. Like, you don't have a good reference when teams are undefeated if they're actually really, really insane or if the rest is just a little bit underwhelming. Right. So I'm really excited to see how well he does, and hope we can break their winning streak.
Watching you guys play has been a lot of fun. For the fans that haven't really kept up, Zearoe, give us an identity to your team. What can we expect out of Insignem? Are you guys an early game team, late game team, or do you just beat people up?
I think the most interesting thing is because EU has a lot of different teams. Like Burrito, they're very early game, so up Happies, and the others play mostly for late game and just the traditional, like, we're just gonna make sure that we can survive till late and then survive. But whereas we kind of adapt to who we're playing, like each week we'll go out and we'll be like, we're playing these guys, we have to make sure we don't lose early, we have to kind of push them early, and then go into late, making sure that we can like beat them at their own game. I think that's quite cool.
Is there a pro league team you can compare yourself to?
I mean, it's rough to say because we don't really have the opportunity to play them in a serious scenario. So I don't think we can really compare ourselves directly. I think it would be kind of unfair to. So.
You said that you kind of adapt to who you're playing against. What are you expecting from Anxiety Onset? What is your play style going to be like against them?
I mean, you'll kind of have to wait and see, but we've got some cool stuff kind of planned. Hopefully, we're prepped as we can be. So hopefully we'll work out all right.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
That was Zearoe and DeathPanter, the solo and mid laner there for Insignem, and they sound pretty confident there, Taco.
I don't think they have a reason not to be confident. I mean, they are the EU representative, and if you're looking at how things have shaped up for Europe so far at the Masters LAN here, it's been looking pretty good if you're a European fan.
That's true. At the same time, though, you kind of want to keep it going, right? You don't want to be the European team to drop a set to North America, and Insignem will certainly have their work cut out for them, but they do have plenty of players who have been around the scene for a long time. Maybe not in this particular position, but I'm talking about guys like HalfDevil who are around and playing at LANs towards the beginning of the Pro League's inception. LASBRA has been to many LANs, not as a player, but as a substitute for the team that's in the finals today, Team Dignitas. So you know he understands what it takes to win, but being able to do it yourself is a different story.
I think potentially the players with the least amount of experience on Insignem would probably be looking towards this guy right here on your screen, Joshy, the hunter, actually, for Insignem, and then Zearoe, or Alexi, as he was formerly known as, and is still probably more popularly known in Europe as. But both of them have been players that have been hanging around that, like, EGL, Challenger Cup kind of territory, and now this is like their first real breakthrough, I would say, on a team that has a lot of potential, I think, to not only compete at the Smite Minor League level, but possibly even the SPL.
Do you think the lack of experience for the side laners then, Alexi or Zearoe and Joshy in the ADC role, do you think that this moment might kind of amp them up a little bit too much?
I think that they might go into this a little excited, so we'll probably be expecting to see some of those. I don't want to call it LAN nerves in that they're actually feeling super nervous as much as it is. They might play a little bit more aggressive because it's different when you're in this sort of LAN environment. You have the energy of your teammates around you. You can get a little bit too excited. So they should be careful about that. Make sure to continue playing the pacing to their own style.
Well, they do have a very experienced member in the mid lane. DeathPanter played on the world stage, so I'm sure that he can give them some advice in that regard. On the other side for Anxiety Onset, they also have a player who has played in the world stage. In fact, the world's finals, PainDeViande, made it in Season 2 with that enemy roster, now down in the minor league, but has led this team, Anxiety Onset, to a 20-0 record. They haven't dropped a game yet. We had our pregame interview with them, and before we let you go to it, let me tell you, Mollusk and Paul, they sounded really confident. All right, Mollusk and Paul from Anxiety Onset, thanks for joining us, guys, and congratulations on getting here. You guys haven't dropped a single game so far in the spring. What has the season been like for you? Did you expect this level of success?
Yes, every single bit of it. We have a lot of talented players on our roster, and I didn't think anyone else could really compete with us, so... True say.
Well, you guys look great in the online split. Now here at LAN, do you think it's a positive or a negative that you guys haven't lost? A lot of fans at home look at teams that go undefeated and say, will they tilt if they lose, etc. Do you think that you need that experience losing, or are you fine coming in here high?
I think it's a negative, for one, because we've never really had to deal with losing, so we don't know how we're going to respond to it or the atmosphere. But we'll get to it when we get to it, if we get to it.
Yeah. I mean, the win-loss looks nice, dude. 20-0, man.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
I mean, hey.
You guys don't have a lot of PC LAN experience, but both of you have plenty of console LAN experience. Do you think it's going to be any different with a keyboard and mouse instead of the controller?
Not really. I mean, I like the keyboard more anyways.
So getting into the nitty-gritty of it, we've watched you guys play a lot through you, Paul. You've done a lot of hard work for your team and have kind of been the #1 option. Is that what you expect going into this? Are you guys going to play the same that you did in the regular season, or are we going to see something different at LAN?
I'm probably going to play the exact same picks, honestly. Pretty much that.
Do you expect Insignem to kind of focus you two out in particular? You two seem to be the more dynamic duo of the team. Is that what you're expecting, some focus onto your picks?
Yeah, they're probably going to ban Hebo. First ban, probably won't ever play it this LAN. So.
You guys have a support player, PainDeViande, that's really well known in the Smite scene. He's really well known for kind of picking up forward players and elevating them. How much of the general Pain is true? What can you tell us about your leader? And are you proud to be his sort of third class, his fourth class, if you will?
Well, funny enough, I actually picked him up. So I kind of, me and Paul, we queued ranked a ton, and we just wanted to play with the best players we could get. Pain, obviously one of the best supports there is. Playing with him, he definitely has a commanding attitude when you're in a game with him, but I would say probably less so than he has with his previous teams. I've never been in them, but I would say the share of comms and leadership is pretty much spread out between Paul, me, and Pain.
Agreed.
Paul, you're going to be going up against DeathPanter, who has looked really, really good so far in the spring. Went to the World Championships last year. There's a really high-quality mid laner. How excited are you to go up against him?
I'm pretty excited. I think he plays Hunters, so, I mean, yeah, I'll go Hebo. That's pretty much that.
A lot of confidence here, and like we said, I mean, you guys are undefeated. Are you confident going into this one? You guys sound like it, but I kind of just want to hear your take on how strong you think Insignem is versus you guys.
They're formidable opponents. I mean, as you can see, EU kind of dominated NA, and you said yourself EU is a bit more competitive SML-wise, but I still think we take the 2-0, I'm never going to go into it thinking we lose.
Amen.
All right, guys, congratulations on making it here on your perfect season so far. Good luck.
Thank you.
Shouts out to my mom, Mother's Day.
Same.
Thank you.
There you have it, Mollusk and Paul. A couple characters for the Anxiety Onset boys. Did you like Mollusk's advertisement that he was wearing?
I actually,
it was handmade. If you couldn't tell.
I mean, that was quality as well, but I was more so impressed with that cute little shout out to his mother because in case you guys have missed it, today is Mother's Day, or at least it is here in the U.S. So if you haven't had the opportunity to do so already, we recommend going ahead and giving your mother a shout out because she deserves some love.
I was planning on doing my mom's shout out later on, and Mollusk kind of beat me to it, but that's fine. We can do that later on. Don't have to wait any longer though. If you're ready for picks and bans, Anxiety Onset and Insignem, the top NA and EU minor league squads, ready to go head to head. Remember, guys, this is a best of 3 here today, so. Could see a clean 2-0 sweep. Anxiety Onset may go 22-0 in the spring, or Insignem might be able to put a stopper to that right here, right away.
I think that something super interesting, though, that Mollusk did bring up is that he views the team never having taken a loss as a negative, and I would have to agree with him. I think not having ever dropped even a game within a set can be problematic if you're looking at Anxiety Onset, because they're kind of coming into this not really knowing what to expect, especially since they're facing off against a different region entirely.
This is something a little different. Aphrodite first ban.
I think they watched a little bit too much of the SPL yesterday.
Yeah, I think they may have seen something too. I mean, I can't recall Insignem playing a whole lot of Aphrodite. Maybe they did once or twice, but is this Anxiety Onset maybe thinking they got some information or something like that? I just don't understand. I get first pick, throwaway ban. You're not too worried about what you're banning because you're trying to get a priority pick in that first pick slot. But Afro, it seems like it's out of left field.
Afro seems a little bit out there, but perhaps they might have been taking a glance over at those Dignitas sets, and since Europe has shown some favoritism towards this Aphrodite here at Masters, I can't be too shocked that they would choose to do so. Plus, this opens up the pathway to make sure that they can lock in that Robin.
Robin right away. This is a priority pick for Mollusk, has been all year long. No Hebo ban, as Paul predicted and then unpredicted later on in the interview, but Insignem immediately taking away Athena. This is a great pick for them. It's one of PainDeViande's signature picks, but it's also a signature pick for HalfDevil on the side of Insignem. So I love this early selection. Not only does it benefit you, but it takes away from the opposition. I doubt that's going to be an up.
I highly doubt it as well. Something just gives me a slight, gut
No way
feeling.
it's a game 1, right? Like games 2 and 3 is where you pull out the jank. That's where you break out the cheese board, you lay out your selection of crackers, maybe a couple deli meats, and then you bring out the cheese, right? Like it takes a little bit to get there.
Opens, another closes.
Well, no real shocker that it wasn't the Outposh that they decided to opt for, and Janus instead going to be the selection here for DeathPanter. I really like the high map pressure, or at least the high map presence, I should say. I can't really call this map pressure as much as I can call it map presence.
Look at how animated these Anxiety Onset guys are. Pain is speaking and also doing sign language, it looks like. He's using his hands so much. You can see the excitement on these guys' faces as they're ready to get into it here and play on LAN for the first time as a squad. I just mentioned that Athena's a priority pick and a comfort pick for Pain. He's been playing Artio all year. I imagine that's going to be in support for Anxiety Onset, and Paul gets his Hebo.
And it's one of those instances where you see the Habwa and you're not too shocked. You kind of expect Anxiety Onset to pick it, but to me that feels almost like a bait by Insignem. If they're not concerned enough about the Habwa to actually ban it away, and I can see why. I mean, Athena, Janus are already two fairly strong gods against him in terms of out-rotating and like just heavy mobility in general. Serqet going to introduce a lot of dive possibilities against that Habwa. Granted, she'll have to deal with the Artio in the Cripple field, and that could pose some issues later on down the line, but so far, I really like Insignem's draft.
I agree with you. I mean, LASBRA has been the dude for them a lot of this year, as Terra was open that entire time, by the way, and was not picked by either team. LASBRA has been such a driving force for Insignem, more so than even most junglers usually are for a team, and getting him one of his best gods, he performed so well on this Serqet. But as you were saying, the Habwa feels kind of like a bait. I think this Serqet was kind of a bait as well, because Serqet into Habwa is really, really scary. I mean, she is very squishy. If she latches on to, say, the Artio or the Ravana, that guarantees a Habwa ultimate that will honestly kill her unless she's at full HP most of the time. I don't think Anxiety Onset is surprised nor upset by this Serqet pick.
I think that we're going to end up seeing a lot of Athena Serqet combos onto the Habwa, and I think that's why the Athena is so important here, in fact, because the damage mitigation on the Defender of Olympus is going to be crucial if you're trying to all-in commit towards a Habwa. It's going to make sure that you're not taking necessarily as much damage as you possibly could have been, and on top of that, with DeathPanter on the Janus, he'll be able to either clean up or just straight up rotate everybody around, and the Ho Yi pick is what I was really waiting for to happen.
Joshy loves this god, has played it quite a bit. This just feels like Anxiety Onset and Insignem came in here and were like, we know what you're going to play, you know what we are going to play, and let's just do it, and let's just see what happens. This is like they're running full speed at each other and just seeing who ends up on top in game 1. I think we'll see a lot more adjustments in more well-rounded, counter strategies in game 2. But this feels to me like they're both drafting what they want to draft and just seeing how their opposition handles it.
I think that's an okay way to approach things as well, at least for game 1. I mean, you're taking two moderately separate metas as well, because Smite Minor League does tend to have its own flavors in comparison to the SPL, and that's just to be expected. I mean, these guys are still kind of building up their resumes for that level of competitive play, but they're at least advanced enough to know what can and can't work out. I don't think that the Anubis pick is legitimate in any terms, by any means. And it's going to be Mandowarrior, in fact, on the Artio, or potentially even the Geb.
Could be. We've seen him play Geb before, if my memory serves me correctly. So, a couple Guardians. Don't really know who is going where, I should say, between the Artio and the Geb. It does feel to me like Pain might still go for this Artio, but Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see as we wait on Insignem's last selection. Could be a solo or a support, because this Athena could easily go into the solo lane. We've seen a little bit more of solo Athena as of late.
I think that's just because she still has that rotational ability, but it is going to be the Athena in the support role. Find it hard to imagine that Insignem would really want to start things off with the Chulainn in that support role. We have seen a little bit of that from Europe, but just Athena would be able to provide so much more global presence in comparison to the Chulainn, and you want to have those taunts to just spam at the ready, because the most punishable stages right now for Anxiety Onset, I think, are looking more towards the mid and the dual lane. Artemis and Halfghost have a chance to succumb to the pressure out of a Serqet and the Ho-Yi, so we'll be really curious to see how Anxiety Onset choose to manage their spacing.
Well, AX and Insignem may as well have gone blind pick with these drafts. I think both teams come away very happy with it. Who do you think takes game one?
I think that Insignem has a stronger draft.
All right, Taco says Insignem. We'll have to wait and see. We've got the casters of John Finch and Anatoly on the call.
Thank you, Aggro. Thank you, Taco, for breaking that down for us on the desk. Anxiety Onset versus Insignem. That's going to be the set here, Tully. Anxiety Onset dropped no games. Insignem only dropped one set. I mean, these two teams are clearly head and shoulders above the rest of the SML. Let's see how they compare against each other.
And with this international mix, both of them getting what they really wanted here. Hobwab
Didn't it
for
seem that
Paul.
way?
It seems that we're going to see maybe Mando here on the Geb. Artio going to PainDeViande. I'm really excited to kick this off because Insignem having a really crazy team fighting draft here, the Athena and the Janus. But on the flip side here, Anxiety Onset wanting that cripple to make it less effective on the portals.
Well, we are just about ready to get into game, so I got to ask, who do you all think will win? Make sure that you vote in the Mixer poll and get them in quick, because we are just about to see some action already. HalfDevil is the one that's coming forward, is in potential getting rooted. Blink comes out from themollusk, who follows up. An Unstable Vortex brings him low. First blood going to Mandowarrior, takes down HalfDevil. Sprint going to come out for the retreat. Anxiety Onset are out of there, taking their kill and running.
This reminds me of Season 0 play, where both teams will group up as 5, 2 freight trains colliding against one another here, and PainDeViande able to set that up beautifully there with the root here, the blink play coming from Mollusk to ensure the root, and there was just nothing that HalfDevil could really do there. There was surround too strong, too fast.
Yeah, just unfortunate. HalfDevil just a little bit further out in front of the rest of his squad, trying to look around the jungle, make sure that they can get some vision, instead gets punished. And now it's already a 1-0 start for Anxiety Onset, and looks like that's been reflected here in the polls. Those results, I think, came in before the first blood, but it does appear that Anxiety Onset is the favorite, at least amongst the fans at home, and for good reason. There's tons of talent on both squads, really, but I mean, PainDeViande should be some names that you all certainly recognize at this point. I mean, Halfghost, Mollusk, if you follow console scene. I mean, there's certainly names on here that some of our fans at home should without a doubt recognize.
Having some former SPL experiences, PainDeViande, HalfDevil back in Season 1 and 2, DeathPanter, most notably with the Elevate squad. LASBRA used to be that substitute for Dignitas, so definitely having a lot of strategies that he brings to Insignem, getting them very far in the Smite minor league European side of things and getting here in North America.
You know, and I'm a little surprised too. I mean, that Anxiety Onset were such heavy favorites. I mean, I know how popular a lot of this Insignem roster is. LASBRA has been getting a lot more traction lately, streaming very often. DeathPanter, like you just said, was just at HRX. I mean, these are players that you know, that everyone at home certainly knows and knows are capable of playing at a very, very high level. SPL caliber, a lot of them. It's just so close up there in the SPL now that some of them came down. You could see this here where they're up at the top of the minor league.
Reflecting back at that first blood, going now to Mandowarrior that's piloting the Geb. Normally you want to give it to a carry, but in that case you can't control it.
Ricochet lands on the paint, so he's very low. Halfghost now taking a good bit of poke back from HalfDevil. This is Anxiety Onset, really, the ones who are playing aggressively. The dash does come out from Joshy, or rather the jump, so he'll be okay. Still, though, clear advantage appears to be going the way of Pain and HalfGhost.
Not too much sustain remaining here between these two hunters. A lot of damage being dealt onto both of them here. HalfDevil needs to worry after the dash not available. PainDeViande could easily root him if he really wants to. And that's going to be the play here. HalfGhost needs to get some crits.
Goes into the steroid there, just HalfGhost, but can't quite find any other damage. But this is the poke control that you can get with Artemis. And Tully, we haven't seen very much Ho-Yi here at this tournament at all. It feels like it's been the Hachimons, the Roms, right? Artemis has been in there as well, too. Why are we seeing Joshy go to this Ho-Yi, and why haven't we seen as much of it?
Hold that thought, though, because Mollusk wants to get something off. Blink's available in the solo lane. Gonna get the knock-up, and that's gonna enable the dive.
And it's Mandowarrior that gets the last hit, too. That's probably about as good as that could have gone for them. Getting the kill onto Zearoe over in the solo lane. He ends up falling. Now they're gonna come little bit of aggression into the duo lane too, but not much kill potential here. Mollusk showing some early attention to the solo lane.
Second kill now for Mandowarrior, getting to a great start. Already finishing off the evolution of that Warrior's Blessing. Still needs 5 more stacks for Zearoe's HalfDevil. Taunts out Halfghost, but it could be a little trouble for the Athena as it gets rooted in place.
Halfghost is here, but Sprint comes out from HalfDevil. Back available to him after having using it early on, trying to avoid that initial collapse in the jungle, but they're going to be okay over in that dual lane.
You were asking me the question of why we're not seeing enough Hu Yi as opposed to the other hunters, and honestly, it's mostly the LAN meta changing things throughout the online split. People and teams are realizing that it's more about the basic attack that you're able to get off whenever you're getting dove by a warrior or an assassin trying to keep yourself alive. The basic attacks with Devil Gloves keep you alive more than an ability hunter will try to just outburst the opposition.
Right, like Hu Yi does have the mark of the crow, so that's very strong against one target, but maybe not as strong as like the attack speed stems that Artemis and Rams have at their disposal.
More damage versus attack speed. Artemis should get the favor considering that 15% crit in the passive. You get a couple basic attacks in, you're building up those stacks. You get 5% per stacks, capping at 3. That's why more and more players piloting this god will go for more crit builds, even though Thorns and Height of the Me line is an option, especially with Spectral Armor reducing the crit. They're still feeling confident that they can get away with it.
Mandowarrior's going aggressive into the jungle, just barely missed crossing past there with LASBRA, level 5, but he's going to keep coming in for the rotation. There's a ward there. They're going to spot him out, and we see LASBRA turn his attention towards him. DeathPanter forced, I believe, use the Purification Beast to get away there in the mid lane. Mollusk is making the rotation over towards LASBRA now, who's able to ambush away. So, much ado about nothing, really, aside from DeathPanter.
Without the beads there, the knockup is almost guaranteed there, so needing to get away from the root as quickly as possible. Good defensive mechanism from DeathPanter. Still holding on to through space and time whenever there's going to be some sort of action in the side lanes. Insignem need to respond.
I do want to point out, though, Mandowarrior playing the Geb in the solo lane. If you've been following the SML, that's not unusual for Mandowarrior. You know, we actually see him play this Geb over here pretty often, so it can be very, very powerful later on when he's able to rotate in and provide tons of control. I mean, what is it that Mandowarrior likes about this Geb?
It's the team fighting aspect here. That's why we're seeing more Sobex specifically in the meta. But left side, though, Mollusk jumping in.
Mystic Rush means Joshy has to leave very, very early. Through space and time comes through, and PainDeViande could potentially be in trouble, but the boar is better. Mollusk finds HalfDevil LASBRA, returns the favor onto PainDeViande, 1-for-1 so far, support for support, but I don't think LASBRA and DeathPanter are done just yet.
Not quite yet. With the rotation from Paul, this red buff is looking mighty juicy. DeathPanter forced to use that portal defensively.
Wow.
Paul gets the knockup, but not going to use that ultimate. He was not in range.
So much respect for Paul on this Habois, and I think it's well earned. He's looked like a monster on it all SML spring split so far, and they have to retreat. Red buff able to be successfully taken by Anxiety Onset. So yes, they trade those supports out 1-for-1, but the buff control still going the way of AX.
The thing about Paul and his Habois is it's very effective in terms of damage, especially the way he builds it. Rushing the Bancroft's Talon first. He starts off with the Talon's Trinket, 1,400 gold for 60 magical power, a little bit of lifesteal, and he's asking the question to the opposition, prove me wrong. If you're, I'm going to be left unchecked, and I'm just going to go ham in the mid to late game, and that's kind of what happens in most of their games, that Paul is left unchecked because of all the other pieces that Anxiety Onset has, with how aggressive Mollusk is with that Blink Robin. It's very difficult to just pick Paul away.
And then Mandowarrior plays gods like this Geb, right? I mean, if you're a Habois building like a glass cannon, it sure helps to have someone as disruptive and helpful as a Geb when we get towards like maybe like the mid game when he's rotating more. But Mandowarrior was able to strip the blue buff away from Zearoe in that solo lane. So he does have control, looks like about a level and a half or so of a lead. He's up over Zearoe right now, and that blue buff steal going to continue to help him out.
Both members of the duo lane from Anxiety Onset really wanting to get that stacking department finish here. Gauntlet of Thieves rushed even before the boots, but LASBRA feeling aggressive.
Defender of Olympus is coming out on top of him to keep him going. HalfDevil is here dashing in, not able to find the taunt. They do find onto Paul, though, who uses the Crushing Wave to bring DeathPanter incredibly low and take his life. LASBRA does trade it out. Yet another 1-for-1. Mandowarrior's here now with the Shockwave, but Zearoe happy to trade this one out and force Mandowarrior back.
If Mando was there just just 2 seconds earlier. That could have easily spelled the doom from LASBRA. So a great offensive play from Paul. He's known to make these kinds of aggressive opportunities just unfold. So at least training out 1-for-1. And Mas doing a great job surviving there, holding his overhead kick for the ultimate from Chulainn, and even using that Mystic Rush just to get out of danger, keeping himself alive. And I don't expect Insignem to really go on to themollusk ever again, unless they know, for example, that his ultimate's down.
Ends up being very difficult for Insignem there. That was initially the engagement from Anxiety Onset onto LASBRA, as Halfghost did take away that red buff, so they're continuing their buff invade. But it was initially aggression onto LASBRA, HalfDevil ultimates in, and Paul and themollusk both really look dead to rights there, but Paul makes the heads-up play with this damage-oriented build. He's going to go back in and trade out successfully with DeathPanter first. What a huge play, and playing to the build that he's got right now is Mandowarrior not going to be able to come strip away the blue buff again.
These 2 kills for Mando, and because he didn't rotate on the left side of the map, the middle lane rather, he has a 2-level advantage. As a result, he's able to extend this lead, already having 30% cooldown reduction, gives him this opportunity to potentially dive that tier 1 tower, but instead gonna proxy.
Beads have to come out from Halfghost to avoid the stun. Drops the board to lock down HalfDevil, but the Suns are on top. That's going to be the ultimate from Joshy, but it does keep HalfDevil alive. Anxiety Onset cannot continue to aggress in the dual lane, at least not yet. They're going to push the wave up and look for farm.
Anxiety definitely going to look to play aggressive, considering there's so many minions under that tower. And with enough vision here between the purple and the red, they can identify where the rotations are happening. And whether or not they get the minions under the tower to deny the gold, they're still looking for that long-range poke to set themselves up for this next wave.
And it feels like that's what they've got a little bit over Joshy and HalfDevil here, right? Is the ability to clear the wave and get good poke in at the same time, whereas it can be a little bit harder for Joshy and HalfDevil to do that same thing. And it's led to repeated buff invades. They're pinging it out right now. They want to be there for purple and red buff spawns. And LASBRA way back at speed. DeathPanter just had to back in mid as well, so this should be pretty easy for them.
This purple buff invade actually just secured the final stack from PainDeViande. He's already completed the Gauntlet of Thieves, so having a huge power spike play. I wouldn't be surprised if Anxiety Onset continues to pressure, even invading the red buff away from Insignem, giving it to Paul, and which already has so much damage with his build, giving it more with the buff and denying it from DeathPanter allows this kind of aggressive play.
Yeah, Moss forces DeathPanter away while the rest of the squad starts looking at the Gold Fury. Halfghost and PainDeViande have enough to get this done by themselves, and Mollusk even going to go show, I think, face in the dual lane, maybe to not give up the ghost that they are trying to grab this. Paul, though, could potentially be in trouble by the mid camps. He's going to back away. So, yeah, this Gold Fury should be going the way of Anxiety Onset without any real problems. I don't want to say for free. They've earned this map control that they've got.
There's just no vision from Insignem inside that little cove, and Mandowarrior being that obnoxious solo laner, not the warrior that you're known to see be a bully, but instead this level 12 Geb solo lane, making it really work against Insignem shows the flexibility from Mandowarrior, honestly. He's known to play some warriors every now and then to pilot the Cabrakan, but playing the Geb forces the hand from Insignem of avoiding the solo lane. And if you're used to the solo lane action so much so, you're not really going to make any plays happen. You're forced to kind of play around middle and dual lane instead.
And it's very difficult to do that with the way that Paul's playing on the Habois, with the control that PainDeViande and Halfghost have. So forcing them away from solo lane and into where Anxiety Onset actually have their better matchups. That's part of why we've seen Insignem be able to develop such a strong early lead as you check back into where Mandowarrior continues to control the solo lane pretty heavily. Level 13 now over Zearoe, who's still level 10, perhaps just about to tick over to level 11.
Back into base, finishing off the Void Stone is Mandowarrior, even opting for the Blink as the second relic. More engagements available. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a grouping around the Pyromancer almost immediately after that.
Mala still has Mystic Rush and overhead kick used, so shouldn't be too much trouble, especially with Mandowarrior rotating through space and time. Clips him, though. I don't think he was expecting that to come in. LASBRA looked for the blink, but he's able to avoid that with the Mystic Rush and turn right back around. Meanwhile, action over in the dual lane side as well.
There's
Mandowarrior.
There's the knock-up and the damage from Paul. The red buff doing a lot of work there. The rotation really fruitful, considering that Insignem all in trying to kill Mollusk. They committed into the blink from LASBRA, the ultimate from DeathPanter. Without that escape, there was just nowhere to avoid Paul's damage.
But this is what you're talking about earlier. You can't lock down a Ravana that easily. Not if he still has the overhead kick and the Mystic Rush all still available to him. So they entirely overcommit and then get punished by the rotation coming over from Paul as well. Meanwhile, the dual lane of Anxiety Onset are able to successfully take the 2v2 and continue to pressure out HalfDevil and Joshy.
Mollusk still has Blink. He's going to look for a play here behind the buff, but LASBRA does identify the position of Anxiety's jungler, but 2-level advantage for this Ravana. The pings not coming out. It's going to be a 4-on-3 for the moment.
There's going to be LASBRA who jumps in. They want Halfghost on the backside who immediately uses the beads, but Pain, it gets the last hit. They burn LASBRA immediately. That last breath not even going to get a chance to cause any extra damage here in this team fight. The rest of Anxiety Onset now ready to pressure Tier 1.
Quality over quantity. Despite Insignem having one additional member, the counter engage from Mollusk too strong to handle. LASBRA during last breath is a sitting duck. Everything thrown with the kitchen sink right on top of him. His first death of the game, so it's not like he's been feeding this game, but he can't make anything really happen thus far.
It just goes to show you don't necessarily need the kills to build up a big XP and gold advantage. You need to continue to strip away the buffs, right? So, I mean, look at it. 7,300 gold in the lead right now for Anxiety Onset, 11,000 experience. And only 6-2 in the kills. They've just taken the red and purple buff, and then Jungle on the other side, every chance they've gotten the only Gold Fury so far. Anxiety Onset have really controlled the farm on the map.
Insignem needs to figure out a way to deny this next Gold Fury that's respawning in a minute and a half time. Otherwise, this game is going to get out of control here. DeathPanter is going to be another target, but the ultimate defensively.
LASBRA just can't go into the back line. He's getting blown up way too quickly. Mollusk gets the last hit. Root and Cripple trying to keep HalfDevil in place as Mandowarrior blinks over the wall, finds the shockwave, but they don't have any more lockdown. Instead, they're going to have to fall a little bit back. Tier 1 tower is going to be theirs in the mid lane, and Anxiety Onset kind of have the map to themselves. Where do they want to go?
14 minutes in, and no more Tier 1 towers out of Insignem. Anxiety Onset controlling a huge portion of the map. Even a level 16 Geb solo lane trying to steal away the speed buff will do so successfully as DeathPanter mistimes his unstable vortex, having a decent amount of damage with that Chronos pendant, but no other real items to speak about. Insignem struggling heavily.
Well, a big part of the problem is that LASBRA can't dive the backline. Twice now in a row, he's tried it and gotten blown up both times. I believe that's why we see him itemizing now into either the Ankile or the Runic Shield to try and give him some chance of being able to survive when he does it. But both Paul and Halfghost both now have just blown him up.
Oh my goodness, their Mandowarrior. He won't steal away this buff, but using that ultimate defensively just to buy himself a moment. LASBRA not going to commit that last breath, knowing this level 16 Geb is not going to fall anytime soon, especially with a Geb shield. That mid-engagement that Paul escaped from with his ultimate back to his Tier 1 tower, keep in mind, he also did 800 damage to LASBRA, so this damage is really starting to shine out of the Habwa mid.
Totally. If I told you you could be ZC immune and escape while also doing 800 damage, would you use that ability? That sound like a good ability to you? Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like a plan and a half if I've ever heard one.
And
what
Paul,
a bargain.
Yeah, Paul's making it happen here in the mid lane for Anxiety Onset. 2-1 and 2 has Spirit Desolation and the Obsidian Shard, so even if LASBRA does get some magic defense online, which it looks like is the plan, I don't know how much good it's going to do, and Paul ready to walk right through it. Is DeathPanter not going to let AX take this Gold Fury for free?
Setting up some traps around the Gold Fury while PainDeViande is zoning. Anxiety Onset obviously want this Gold Fury to extend their lead, but Insignem need to figure out a way to deny this. Knowing that they're behind levels makes it tricky to really fight outside the jungle. Anxiety Onset slowing things down, continuing their play of denying jungle farm. No purple buff available, red buff respawning, and Anxiety Onset want this objective over the Gold Fury.
Mandowarriors made the rotation, and Zearoe instead just back to base, and for a little while, all 5 members of Anxiety Onset are here without Insignem, and this should very much be a Gold Fury for them. No way Insignem can walk in and defend it. They're going to burst this one down with Halfghost damage and extend their gold lead even further, approaching 10,000 now that they're in the lead, 9,500.
This is scary.
Yeah, it's so hard to fight into.
This is almost a nightmare for the Europeans. They're down 14,000 experience, let alone the gold department, and that's where things get really dicey. Level 17 Geb, you're looking at level 16 Habwa, 13 Janus, 3-level comparison. LASBRA thanking Paul that he didn't use the water sprout instead of the water cannon, because if that cancels the ambush, I think he's just dead mid-air.
I think so too. I'm actually a little bit surprised he's the hands. Maybe he wasn't quite sure where LASBRA was since he was in the ambush and just wanted to make sure that he covered enough area. But in the end, LASBRA is able to jump right on out of there. Zearoe could potentially be in trouble. Cataclysm into the knockup. Paul deletes him with the ultimate, and that's going to be enough to take Zearoe down. 8-2 total for Anxiety Onset and the kills.
That ultimate did about, what, 750 damage here with the Genji's guard. It's not enough magical defense from this level 17 Hob. Wow, almost stealing that Pyromancer with the through space and time. I think HalfDevil's caught really hard here.
HalfDevil is also being slow, being interrupted, not allowed to dash. He is dead to rights. Mollusk gets the last hit necessary to take that one down. As Anxiety Onset were considering a moment going for the Fire Giant, and I think that's the right call. They have a tremendous lead as Mandowarrior is in a position to try and cause damage to DeathPanter all by himself. Fire Giant is going to be looked at. No way for Insignem with only 3 members alive to come defend as Mando zones the other 3, not even going to let them back. LASBRA has to try and ambush away from a level 18 Geb 17.5 minutes into the game.
Can't really juke away from that stun, but this Fire Giant is going to be so fruitful with these 3 remaining tier 2 towers. That's another 4,500 gold on top of their almost 12,000 gold lead. It's not even 18 minutes into the game, and this is getting completely out of control. It's almost at a point where if this is my rank game, I'm already considering F6ing and figuring out what I want to do in my next game.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for Insignem kind of to talk this one over just a little bit and see if maybe it's in the picks and bans where they want to make some adjustments. Paul on the Habwa is a struggle. It also didn't hurt. It also did not help that they gave up the early first blood as well and allowed Anxiety Onset to get off to a strong start. So a couple things they got to go to the drawing board and fix, but this game right now feeling difficult for Insignem to try and rein back in.
It's not like Insignem didn't get what they wanted though in picks and bans.
Sure.
They both got what they wanted. It just seems that the play style out of Anxiety Onset too aggressive that Insignem is accustomed to. Level 20 for this Geb solo laner. First one of the game, not even 19 minutes in. Gonna bully out this level 13
Yeah, Mandowarrior realized that he has the damage to solo Joshy if Joshy will allow him to. Instead, Josh uses the beads and jumps out, so instead he'll retreat. But yeah, Mandowarrior unafraid. He's 5 levels up on his direct opposition. And look at how they've been forced Insignem to itemize into more magic.
Look at Zearoe,
early.
he's just laughing. He's like, what am I gonna do to
There's
him?
nothing.
He can't do anything against this level 20 rock.
Yeah, just a little, not too frustrated at least. It seems like they realize that this one's probably out of reach, so kind of just using this time to talk it over a little bit more as the group up is on from Anxiety Onset in the mid lane.
Getting the right tower in the mid, trying to shove some minions on the left side. That's exactly where Anxiety Onset want to focus their attention. They're not going to force any issues under the Phoenixes quite yet. Plenty of time for the Fire Giant. 2 more minutes remaining with that buff around the North American side. Expecting them to go forward, but that is 4,500 gold that they just got, so wanting to play it safe.
Yeah, every bit of the gold lead is certainly still relevant because it's so early in the game. They are exactly 17,000 up. Sometimes you're late game, right? And most people are full build, so you don't feel all the lead. That is not the case here, as now Anxiety Onset starting to work on their 5th items when most of Insignem are really just on their 3rd. It's starting to get difficult for Insignem to try and fight into this.
The damage coming from Mandowarrior is actually surprising that it's above Paul, but when you're putting yourself in a 1v5, almost soloing Joshy on cooldown, even forcing the beads, then that's a great trade every time, considering there's so much cooldown reduction coming out of this Geb. It's going to be another red buff invade. LASBRA can barely secure his back camps as Mandowarrior just sits like a statue.
Well, look at HalfDevil. He's still level 11. Doesn't even have second relic available to him. That's kind of a microcosm of this lead that Anxiety Onset have really been able to establish for themselves. Now they can take their time and patiently go on aggressive and ready. HalfDevil walks up and takes half his health from one ability. Even the ultimate from Joshy not going to be enough. 5v4 in Anxiety Onset's favor.
Using the Suns, Joshy trying to peel to allow HalfDevil to take the portal, but the cripple minefield from PainDeViande would not allow it. Left side Phoenix is the first target.
Paul uses the ultimate, doesn't find the mark, LASBRA, but the shield comes out to avoid getting controlled by the last breath. Cataclysm controls 2 members. Mollusk finds a kill inside the fountain. Zearoe is going to fall next. Paul gets credit for that one. Paul gets a double kill. Anxiety Onset looking for kills here as they're at the end of the game. 21 minutes in, Anxiety Onset looking strong.
Getting the first win in this best of 3. Very important from the North Americans. Europe needing to think it over in the next picks and bans. And honestly, this looked like another ranking for Anxiety Onset. This is something that they're used to consistently. When they have this kind of early game advantage, they just run away with it. Insignem, not used to losing that hard in the early game, cannot recover.
But I love that, though. That's the kind of guy Mollusk is. You saw him on the camera, right? They win game 1. They win it handily. They play real well. He's up. You know, he's out of his seat. He's like going around saying, hey, what's everybody good game? You know, touching everybody. That's just the kind of guy Mollusk is. He always brings so much energy, keeps his team pumped up, and we saw it from him before. We're seeing it from here now as well. Anxiety Onset, reason to be feeling good.
They're all really animated. Repap there on your screen. He's the coach. PainDeViande, very animated. A lot of experience as well.
Yeah.
Season 2, second place in Worlds. Paul and Mollusk, the 2 ranked all-stars that you'll see steal your ELO every single day. And Mandowarrior on the Geb, man. What a performance out of him here. Getting the first blood, finding the secondary kill with the gank from Mollusk. He was just playing lights out, and then being that bully here, proxying between Tier 1 and Tier 2 consistently. You cannot even gank this Geb when he's neutral, let alone ahead as he was.
Yeah, he's so strong, or at least Mandowarrior's play was in that game. But who was your MVP? Plenty of good candidates between Paul, between Mollusk, between Mandowarrior. It feels kind of hard to pick just one, but that's your job there. Make sure chat will let you handle that one. Totally. If you had to pick MVP for that game, you got one?
Geb solo. Mandowarrior
Geb
all
solo?
the way. Yep.
All right, well, that's what you got here from us for our MVP, Mandowarrior and the Geb solo. Let's get it back over to the desk with Ryan and Taka.
21-0 for Anxiety Onset so far. They take it to Insignem in that one, and I think the casters kind of highlighted at the end. Who do you even highlight in general? I mean, everyone from Anxiety Onset did their job beautifully.
It just really, if you told me that was Insignem that Anxiety Onset were playing against and like remove the team names for the screen, I would not have believed you though, because that looked nothing like what we've seen from Insignem during the online portion of the SML, and coming here into LAN, I think it's evident that they're hesitating pretty heavily.
Do you think that's because of what Anxiety Onset was doing to them, or that's an Insignem internal problem?
I think that's a little bit of both, even, where Insignem are not only providing a little bit too much respect and like caution against Anxiety Onset, but they just felt so scared, I think, because Hobwa starting off the Bancrofts, sure, normally you don't, like, Paul's been getting away with it all season long, but I think it's about time that teams start truly punishing him for this Bancrofts rush. There's no reason for him to be surviving until he's actually relevant as a Hobwa going for that Bancrofts rush. You see it punished. There's a reason why it's not opted for in SPL competitive play, because you will get farmed off cooldown for that, and especially against the Serqet Athena, I just don't think that Insignem really prioritized their lane pressure properly, because once they fell in solo and once Zearoe got ganked by Mollusk and it was effectively put behind, Insignem needed to just switch all of their pressure and emphasis towards that mid and dual lane.
Well, keep in mind as well, I mean, there was a 5-man grouping from the beginning on Anxiety Onset. They find the pick onto HalfDevil, but it's Mandowarrior who gets that first kill. It's Mandowarrior who gets the second kill whenever Mollusk ganks him, and it's Mandowarrior who's your MVP for game number 1. This Geb solo, he was 7 levels up against Joshy at the end there and nearly soloed him as Geb.
This is a perfect case of just a god getting incredibly far ahead, and Geb, we know that he deals damage. That shockwave, when you build him towards that hybrid kind of playstyle, it's gonna put in the damage numbers, and Insignem, they were just way too far behind by like the 9-minute mark. I think that heading into game 2, if Insignem have a repeat performance, this is gonna be a much shorter set and a much honestly, I would not have anticipated it to be that dominant between AX and Insignem in game 1.
I think you're right, though. I think it really was a large portion due to Insignem just kind of feeling like they never got any momentum in that game. They never came in and felt like the aggressors. Is it as simple as they just got first blooded at level 1? You saw, I don't know if you were watching the player cam, but HalfDevil looked not pleased with himself that happened. Do you think that kind of took some of the wind out of their sails before they even got out of harbor?
I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, and I do think that impacted HalfDevil in a sense, because he probably was really kicking himself for that small misplay, and over time, just a continuous series of misplays it felt from Insignem. I do think that the team morale was kind of low. I mean, we even saw DeathPanter walking into the Hobwa ultimate at one point, and where Zearoe had mistimed a Chulainn ultimate. That was actually a really nice engagement that they had in the mid lane, and I remember it specifically because Mollusk and Paul both should have probably ended up dying, but some mistimed abilities off of chain CC and mistimed follow-up, it just ultimately resulted in Insignem not really having the appropriate responses when they needed them.
Who on Insignem has got to be the person to just put their foot down, say, okay, that sucked. We just got rolled. Now we've got to come back and be better in Game 2. Who do you think that is, and do you think they have it in them?
I think that you're looking specifically at DeathPanter. He has to be the leadership role for this team, especially right now. He's the one with the most reliable competitive experience. He's the one that actually has been to Worlds and can match a little bit of what PainDeViande's background has been filled up with. And I do feel as though this Insignem team has more than enough potential to bring it back into tow with a 1-to-1 in the second game, but not with the way that they are currently performing.
I think that our look-ins to Anxiety Onset's booth that we've been seeing consistently have been very telling to me. It looks like these guys are just friends. They're joking around, having a great time, and it's not just because they won Game 1. They were doing it before Game 1. They looked like they were having an absolute blast in there before the game had even started, and I think that's really important for teams, especially those that have that don't have as much LAN experience together. This is like the Paul highlight of all time. Instead of killing the Titan, he chases.
That's
kills.
100% Paul.
That's 100% Paul. But I think that that's really lending itself to Anxiety Onset's success. And I don't know all of these guys particularly well behind the scenes, but their success does not surprise me when I see how well they seem to get along together at LAN.